Critical reading is an important aspect of the process of academic writing. What is critical reading? What is the general process of critical reading? And what is the importance of critical reading for research students? These are the main questions that we will briefly respond to in this presentation. So first of all, what is critical reading? Generally, critical reading is intensive, systematic reading that is aimed at a deeper, critical, contextual, and intricate understanding of a text. So, as we know that reading texts such as research papers or books or other sources of reading or literature related to a particular area of research is an important aspect of the process of developing research questions, research topics, research hypotheses, identifying gaps, research gaps, and involving in the critical analysis of the particular issues around which our research topics revolve. That is why it is important for student researchers and for researchers in general as well to get involved in intensive, detailed, and systematic reading. And this reading is generally contextual and is aimed at an intricate understanding of the issue under research. Generally, the process of critical reading involves a deeper comprehension of or understanding of the text based on an evaluation of the text. The context of the text, that is the background or the context in which the particular text has been written, the aims for which the text has been written, the authenticity or originality of the text, or otherwise the validity of the argument that is presented in the text. So these are the things that generally come in the scope of critical reading of a text or texts for during the research process. Now, what is the general process of critical reading? So generally, critical reading begins with an extensive reading of the texts or the material or the sources around the topic in which we are actually conducting our research. So extensive, large-scale, extended reading of different sources, of different authors, of the different works of particular authors, reading across the various aspects of the particular topic, reading across the writings of the various schools of thought related to a particular topic or research topic. This is something that comes in the fold of extensive reading. So the first thing that generally readers will do, research students as critical readers will do, is to read extensively. Generally, whatever comes at hand in the beginning is something that is eligible for this extensive reading. This then leads to focusing of the texts. So one, the extensive, or you can say the free reading phase is completed. The next phase then is focusing of the texts. And that actually means now delimiting the text that is then selected for intensive reading. So that's the second stage, where there is selection of the particular text from the extensive list for further intensive, deeper reading, for deeper understanding, for getting deeper insights into the issues. So for example, if there is a PhD thesis that a student is doing literature review for or reading for, so if initially they select, for example, 100 research articles related to their particular topic in which they are working. During the intensive reading stage or the focusing stage, they will generally reduce it to maybe 1/3 or 1/4, or in some cases lesser than that of the original or the extensive reading list. So once that is done, the next thing is intensive reading will also be based on the closer focus of the selected text to the topic, and so you can say there is closer correlation between the text that is selected for intensive reading and the topic that is under consideration for research. Once the intensive reading stage has begun, the next thing is that the researchers then do summarizing of ideas, summarizing of the arguments related to particular ideas or particular context or particular concepts related to the topic. There is also the process of comparing and contrasting of ideas and concepts, and the comparing and contrasting of arguments across authors or across schools of thoughts. Once this is done, this is then followed by evaluating, although it's a reiterative process, so these stages are not exclusive. At any stage, some of the processes that are on the next stage, they can be partly done at the previous stages as well. So at the evaluation stage, there is an analysis of the arguments and the counter arguments. This then leads to synthesis, or you can say looking at a bigger picture of the various arguments and counter arguments related to a research topic, and then the conclusion. So there could be conclusions at the various parts of the various sections of the critical reading and literature review section, and there could also be an overall conclusion towards the end of the whole critical reading process. So this is generally the process is a very systematic one, begins on a larger extensive level, then it gets focused with the passage of time and with increasing understanding of the research student related to the concepts and the intricacies of the topic. Then that the enhanced understanding leads to the ability of the research student to summarize things, to see arguments and counter arguments, to analyze arguments and counter arguments, to evaluate those arguments, counter arguments, and to synthesize them and to get to some conclusion that ultimately results in the identification of research gap for further analysis, and the consolidation of research gap for further exploration. Once this is done, so now the third question is, what is the importance of the critical reading for research students? Well, there are quite a few reasons for conducting critical reading, and these points actually indicate the importance of critical reading for research students. So the first one is that reading in general and critical reading in particular provides in-depth knowledge related to the particular topic or topics that the research students are exploring. They build their vocabulary through reading, contextual vocabulary, they develop their ideas, and they develop the ability to understand ideas in comparison to counter ideas or counter arguments. So the overall result is deeper and better understanding and knowledge. The second thing is that critical reading actually helps research students in developing deeper understanding. because now they have read multiple perspectives, and so they have an understanding related to to a variety of perspectives related to the particular topic, especially topics where there are arguments, counter arguments, where there are contentions. So the critical reading process helps in better and deeper understanding, and they can understand the issue through multiple perspectives. The next importance of critical reading is that it reduces the chances of misinterpretation. So because the readers have read a variety of perspectives, a variety of authors, and they have critically analyzed that, as a result, the chances of misinterpretation of one view or another view, or of one author or another author, is reduced. Enhances objectivity. The next important thing about critical reading is that when the reader is critical, the student, researcher, they become more objective towards one point of view or another point of view, and so their decisions regarding their conclusion is based on more objective analysis of the various aspects of the topic that they are working on. Again, critical reading helps in improved analytical skills, because this is a continuous process of analysis of the various schools of thought, the various ideas, and as a result, they need to break down complex ideas, and so critical reading actually helps in improving analytical skills. Also, the process increases authenticity of the argument, because now the arguments have support or backing in the form of literature or reading material, and there are counter arguments, and so they have also backing, and as a result there is increased authenticity of the argument. Then further, it helps in better research gap identification. Extensive reading then followed by critical intensive reading is something that helps in research gap identification, and so the consolidation of the research topics for further exploration. Further, this process results in the formulation of good research questions, hypotheses, and objectives. Now that again is something that is very important. Critical readers come up with critical questions and clear hypotheses and clear, solid, and informed objectives, and so that is something that helps in the better conduct of the research process. Further, it leads to robust research design, formulation, and execution, as critical reading helps in clarifying the research topics, in clarifying ideas, in clarifying the ways and means in which previous studies have been conducted. That helps the research students in developing robust, clear research designs, and then also these help in the process of execution of those research designs. And lastly, the overall impact of critical reading for research students is that this results in the process of authentic research process and outcomes. So it is very important. So to summarize, critical reading is very important for research students, and for that, first of all, they need to start reading on an extensive level. They can develop initial understanding of the concepts related to the topic. That will lead them further to focus their topic, and then to focus the reading list and to read those intensively. And once that intensive reading is done, that helps in the clarification of the concepts, further the objectivity of the research process, the identification and consolidation of the research process. And so ultimately this results in the researchers, the student researchers, being more knowledgeable, well informed, and so they will develop the ability to to develop and execute productive and useful and clear research.